It's a really powerful economic tool. From an economic analysis point of view, in a very simple form for harvesting contractors, it's your go-to tool. Hopefully with the advent of things like HarvestMate, we can try and improve that profitability so that it's fair and equitable and that harvesting contractors remain sustainable. We've long had harvesting contractors be part of the industry, and it would be disappointing to see those kind of people leave the industry. But equally, we want to be able to encourage the next generation of harvesting contractors.
Hello and welcome to Sugar Research Australia's Cane Matters podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Campbell, and in this episode, we're delving into the HarvestMate Auto project and how this real-time data-driven support tool is being developed for the sugar industry to optimise cane harvesting practices, delivering economic value for both harvesting contractors and growers. The project is an extension of the original HarvestMate app and is being led by SRA's District Manager for Central, Dylan Wedel, and he joins me today. Welcome, Dylan.
G'day, thanks, Sonia.
Let's start with the original HarvestMate support tool. In a nutshell, what is HarvestMate?
So I guess HarvestMate was built off of years and years of harvest best practice trials. SRA has been involved in the harvesting space for quite a while, and they went through a program of conducting in-farm or in-paddock harvest loss trials to be able to demonstrate to harvesting contractors how they could optimise their practices. So that's what eventually built up a data set that gave us enough data to put together some algorithms that actually drive HarvestMate, which give these predictions for harvesting parameters for each paddock.
So it's a tool to help optimise harvesting practices, but it's also designed to provide economic value to both the harvesting contractor and the grower?
I guess, there's two inputs into HarvestMate. The first one's looking at the farm-specific inputs that relate to the crop that the grower's grown. And then also there's some inputs from the contractor around the costs of harvesting and what those variable and fixed costs are for the harvesting contractor. And ultimately what the tool does is uses the algorithms to be able to predict how they can increase the overall gross margin for the grower, essentially, without putting the contractor at a loss.
So the HarvestMate Auto project, which you are now leading, it aims to expand the capabilities of the original tool. It's doing this by integrating automatic data entry and live feedback. What were the limitations of the original program?
So, some of the limitations that HarvestMate had was that it was strictly just associated with green cane harvesting. You'd be aware that the Burdekin region does the vast majority of the burnt cane harvesting in the industry, so that was a bit of a gap. Since the development of HarvestMate app, we've now started seeing more dual row harvesters enter the market as well, so that left us a bit of a gap as well. And then I guess the main kind of limitation of the first HarvestMate project was that it did require a degree of input from the contractor and the grower, or the grower, I should say, to be able to come up with the predictions. Whereas with HarvestMate Auto, we want to be able to try and drive those predictions and recommendations real time based on the conditions that the harvest is experiencing on the go.
So did the original app rely on a lot of manual data entry?
I wouldn't say there's a great deal of manual inputting, but I guess what we're trying to say is that we're inputting data that pertains to a paddock, but actually there's variability within the paddock as well. And to be able to capture that variability in paddock, there would be a lot of fiddling around with the app to be able to come up with an accurate prediction. So we had to kind of simplify it and look at it on a paddock as a whole kind of scale, whereas HarvestMate Auto wants to start looking at that particular row of cane that's in front of the harvester and being processed by the harvester at that time. So I guess, the economics of a harvesting contractor and minimising cane loss for the grower are all associated by things like the yield and the throughput that's going through the machine, which is then governed by the ground speed that the machine is travelling across the ground at, and then also the fan speeds as well, which also drive cane loss. So I guess what we want to be able to do is be able to look at what that real-time throughput is through the machine and provide a on-the-go recommendation of what the ground speed and fan speed should look like to be able to minimise cane loss, but more importantly, try and make sure that everything's economically viable.
It sounds like the project will involve a lot of collaboration with both harvesting contractors and growers to develop a model that is advantageous to both.
Well, so I guess, we haven't really put a lot of thought into exactly how the pricing model will look like with the Harvest Made Auto, because essentially Harvest Made Auto is going to be providing recommendations on the go. Previously in the Harvest Made app, where we were looking at a paddock as a whole, the contractor would sit down with the growers within the harvesting group and be able to step through what each of the paddocks look like, what the recommended practices were, discuss some of the limitations that would be imposed upon the harvesting contractor to be able to meet best practice. So think about things like cutting hours in a day. We haven't got an infinite amount of time in a day, so we've got to be pretty practical and realistic with the recommendations. So I think that's a big kind of part from there. But essentially, Harvest Mate, if you input all of your growers' farm details, the haul length, turnaround times, and all of the contractor economics, you're going to come up with the dollars per tonne that is specific to that farm. And you can even drill deeper and have a cost per tonne specific to that paddock. So that's as far as Harvest Mate would go initially. But with Harvest Mate Auto, we're actually going to get to a point where we're changing parameters on the fly in the paddock. That's where we've got to kind of work out exactly how's the best way to, encourage that conversation between the contractor and grower at the end of processing that paddock, just to be able to make sure that the contractor's adequately remunerated for the practices that they had to, utilise as they were harvesting that crop.
And so how will you create the algorithms and the data to allow this real-time, on-the-go feedback?
Yeah, I guess, with new harvesters that are coming out, both Case and John Deere machines, they've both got a stream of real-time data, and it's presented in the form of an API, and that's where we'll be trying to draw this data out of the harvester to be able to feed it into the Harvest Mate program. So essentially, what's being provided through the computer system within those harvesters is a yield, and we're able to calculate the throughput that's going through the machine. Throughput or flow rate is an important part of processing and cleaning cane through a harvester. We've got information around ground speed that comes in and fan speed as well. So I guess there are three main components that we're going to be able to pull out of the real-time onboard sensors that are on the harvesters. I guess a limitation there is that older harvesters that haven't got that information won't be able to plug and play, so to speak, with Harvest Made Auto. But the promising thing is that, there are opportunities to be able to retrofit these yield monitors to older machines as well. There's already data streams around ground speed and fan speed in older machines. It's just simply a process of being able to integrate some of the newer technology that the OEM has available into these older machines. So, where a computer isn't already installed, one of these processing computers would be installed, and some form of yield monitor as well. So, there's no reason why older machines need to be excluded from the use of Harvest Made Auto. It just would require a little bit more of investment around technology. But I think, we're not kind of looking at the here and now for a tool like this. We're trying to look a little bit more further into the future. And, with all this new ag tech, there's more and more improvements in the data streams and how we're able to manage the data that's coming out of our machinery on farms. So, as growers and contractors, we might as well make best use of that data to be able to make sure that our businesses are profitable.
Dylan, if you're a seasoned contractor and you've been involved in field trials with SRA in the past, and you've proven that you are spot on with your best practice, is Harvest Mate still a useful tool for them?
Yeah, Harvest Mate might not necessarily give a contractor like that a great improvement in cane loss, but what I'd encourage those contractors to use Harvest Mate for is from an economic point of view. It's a great economic tool. It's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've seen from harvesting contractors is trying to determine a fair and accurate harvesting price that's reflective of the crop conditions that they're harvesting. And, you could be a veteran harvesting contractor and you might be really well attuned to your machine and how to be able to adjust harvesting parameters to suit the crop. But I definitely don't want harvesting contractors to be going broke. So I think that's where HarvestMate will definitely provide value for those guys as well.
And I suppose when you talk about determining fair and accurate pricing, there would also have to be that level of managing the expectations of all parties.
We've got some severe constraints in the harvesting sector. We've got machinery prices going up at a greater rate than inflation, which is just incredible. It's hard to explain. Yet we're not seeing those harvesting prices increase, at the same kind of rate. So, that's nothing different to the cane farming operations. So harvesting contractors are feeling the same squeeze that farmers are feeling, and that input prices come up, sugar price might not necessarily change greatly. So I guess, from a harvesting point of view, you need to be able to make sure that your harvesting practices are economical for your business and are not putting the harvesting contractor business at jeopardy.
What about data sharing? There's obviously some transparency there, but also, I would imagine, a high level of data privacy.
There's sensitive economic, information around a harvesting contractor that aren't displayed to the grower that's part of that harvesting group. So the key transparent piece of economic data that's shared from the harvesting contractor's business with the grower is the change in harvesting cost associated with adopting different harvesting practices. And if we've set up the economics at the start for the harvesting contractor, these changes in harvesting costs that are displayed to the grower should be reflective of what that true cost is, and consider the business model that harvesting contractor is using. It's only the harvesting contractor that will actually see the true dollars per tonne for each paddock or each farm. That's strictly only for the contractor. The grower will only see the change in it. So say, for instance, our standard practice is $8 a tonne. To achieve best practice, we might have to slow down a little bit. Normally, always there's some adjustment around the primary extractor fan speed. But if that ground speed slows down and it incurs an additional cost for the harvesting contractor, it's that change in cost that's displayed to the grower. And when I talked about the net benefit to the grower earlier, it takes into consideration that cost. So essentially, we don't want to be slowing the harvesting contractor down to achieve some improvement in cane that doesn't actually provide any economic benefit.
As we've mentioned before, HarvestMate has been around for some time. Is there anything about the tool that contractors and growers may not be aware of?
It's a really powerful economic tool, and I think that that's something that we probably really haven't communicated that well in the past, that from an economic analysis point of view, in a very simple form for harvesting contractors, it's your go-to tool. And the current circumstances that the industry is in, and particularly the harvesting contractors, I think where we can really make some headway moving forward for the industry is using it as an economic tool. Different regions are in different circumstances. So I was up in the far north there just recently, where essentially, there's not enough harvesters there to get the crop processed through the mill to the I guess the throughput of the mill. The mill is throttled by a lack of harvesters. So why are new people not entering the market to be able to harvest? Is because it's just not seen to be a profitable enterprise. And I think that hopefully with the advent of things like HarvestMate, we can try and improve that profitability so that it's fair and equitable, and that harvesting contractors remain sustainable. We've long had harvesting contractors be part of the industry, and it would be disappointing to see those kind of people leave the industry. But equally, we want to be able to encourage the next generation of harvesting contractors. That's why I'm a keen supporter to try and make sure that our harvesting businesses are economically viable and sustainable for the future.
So we already have the foundation laid with the original HarvestMate tool. What's the time frame for this new automated project?
It's going to be a 3-year project encompassing really 2 whole harvesting seasons. So what's going to take the time with this project is collecting that harvest trial data for the burnt cane systems and the dual row cane harvesters. So 2026 and 2025 harvest seasons will be where we collect a lot of that data, and then it'll be early 2027 where we're able to pull that dual row and burnt cane harvest data together to be able to integrate that into the final HarvestMate Auto app or program. HarvestMate Auto, the development of that is underway at the moment with the software developers, and we've already got the green cane trash blanket system, or green cane harvesting system down pat in HarvestMate. So that's our first port of call to be able to do HarvestMate Auto on. And then as we collect that trial data in the burnt cane and dual row systems, we'll then be able to finally integrate that in for Auto as well.
Do you see any challenges ahead with the project?
The challenge we've got is just trying to make sure that that product is adoptable. The first HarvestMate tool, and I think that's why we've really launched into the HarvestMate Auto project to try and make sure that it's as simple as possible to adopt, and really be able to provide those on-the-go type recommendations. Hopefully that makes it a more valuable product, and it's a real-time product that a contractor can appreciate that, that app is telling me what I'd expect to see, or maybe I could make a bit of an improvement here, or even, in retrospect, we've harvested that paddock for the day. And if I'd set my harvesting price at $8 a tonne, but, the way that I had to harvest that paddock put me as the contractor, at an unfair advantage, well, then I want to be able to better understand what that cost was to my business so that my pricing can be reflective of that harvesting conditions.
Well, it sounds like a really exciting project, Dylan, offering some real economic benefits for industry. Thanks for joining me today.
No worries. Thanks, Sonia. And if anyone's keen to give HarvestMate a go, please reach out.
And thanks again to you, our listeners. If you'd like to learn more about HarvestMate Auto or other SRA research activities, go to our website at sugarresearch.com.au. In developing both HarvestMate and HarvestMate Auto, SRA would like to acknowledge valuable research input from the Queensland Department of Primary Industries, as well as DPI funding for delivery of the tool.